Hello, I'm Matt Gervais at the University of Manitoba Soil Science Department. I work with the Soil Ecology group on spectral sensors and imagery. With our corn work, we have several sensors. We have handheld sensors, we have tractor-mounted sensors, and we also have drone-mounted sensors. So there are various types of sensors that can be used for this type of work. The green seeker and the crop circle sensors are ground-based. The green seeker would be something that you would use for handheld scouting of the crops, whereas the crop circle would be a little more sophisticated and would be better suited to being tractor-mounted. Both of those sensors are what we call active sensors. They have their own illumination source, and they can be used in almost all light conditions. And so the working principle is that the light reflected off the plant material, the reflected light will come back at different intensities or different values of reflectance based on what the plant is absorbing. So photosynthetic plants are absorbing in the red spectrum, and they are reflecting light, more light in the green and NIR. And that's near infrared spectrum. And so the intensity of the photosynthetic potential of the leaves and how green they are to how they look is a factor of how much of that red is getting absorbed relative to the green and NIR. And so all of these sensors kind of work on that principle. The green seeker handheld sensor is one of the most simple. It uses red and near infrared sensors, and it's really just looking at the differential between the amount of red and NIR light that's reflected off the plants. And the crop circle is very similar, except it's a little more sophisticated in that we can use different spectrums. We can look at red, green, blue, and NIR, and we can use these other spectra to get just a better idea and a more crop-specific indice. And then the other option we also have is to use a drone. The difference with a drone is it is a passive sensor. It relies on light from the sun to be used. And what will happen is light from the sun will reflect off the canopy, and the camera will take the images, and we can look at, again, the relative amount of red or blue or green or NIR that's bouncing off the canopy. So in the drone's case, you can see we have a DJI Matrice 100 drone, and then mounted onto it we have a MicaSense red edge camera. And if you can see in the photo, there's 5 lenses. And so each one of those represents one of the wavelengths of light. We have blue, green, red, red edge, and near infrared. And we found in our studies on corn that traditionally, in a lot of older work that's being done with crops like corn and wheat, you would use something called NDVI, which is the normalized difference indice between red light and near infrared light. But in our work with corn, we found that we actually get better results using red edge and near infrared indices. And so this is a very corn specific solution, and it gives you better results for trying to find the nitrogen status of plants, and also the yield potential of crops, specifically I think in corn. The only issues as far as drone-based work is, well, our quadcopter is good for small field scale or small plot scale work like this. Commercial solutions would use a very similar camera, but probably use a fixed-wing aircraft to cover the crop area. Returning to the ground-based sensors, something like the crop circle could also do the very same work. It would be tractor mounted, and Crop Circle can also be fitted with this red edge lenses or filters in order to use those same indices. Seem to work really well with corn. Oh, and then as far as timing goes, we've concentrated mostly on the V4 and V8 stages for corn. This gives you the best indication of the nitrogen status at a point where it might be commercially viable to apply in-season nitrogen in order to respond to what you're seeing in the field.
Oh, it trimmed.
Yeah, it's a weed whacker.